Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Rhonda. Are you interested in making this hat? It is actually a Ganni knockoff hat. If you look in Saks Fifth Avenue, you're going to see this hat for over $200. You can make it yourself. So come on in. I also have a Ravelry pattern that you could purchase. I will link that in the description box so you can have that as well. So let's get started. Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Rhonda, and I finally have a tutorial ready for you for this designer inspired hat. If you've been waiting, thank you for your patience. Things take time. As a disclaimer, I am not a professional crochet designer, so if I've done anything that is less than what a pro would do, then forgive me. I tried to do my best to make it work and make it look great, and go from there. I wanted to give you an overall view of this hat and the different parts of this hat so that you'll be prepared for the different stitches. You'll know what's coming up. So let's look at the hat. We'll take a closer look and I will show you what is involved in creating this hat. So first, I'll just give you a close-up. We've got the crown here, starting with a magic circle. If you don't like to do a magic circle, then definitely you can do a chain of 2 and create a loop. But I will show you a great method for doing a double magic circle, which is awesome. And once I found it, that's what I do all the time. And then I will show you how to make this crown in the single crochet. Then we go into some X stitches, some single crochet, and I will show you how to change your yarn. And we go into some shell stitches here and back into some single crochet, lots of yarn changes. We're going to increase to get the brim, more shell stitches down here, a little bit different than up here. And basically that is what you're getting. You're getting your single crochets, your shell stitches, your X stitches, which I will show you how to do everything, and your increases and changing of the yarn. So let's start. I'm going to go overhead and show you everything you need, and I will get you started and we can begin. So let's do this. Okay, so let's start with what you'll need for this project. You will need a hook. Now I'm using a G4 clover hook, the 4mm. You'll need a darning needle with all of the yarn changes. You will definitely be needing that to weave in your ends, and a stitch marker, and you will need a tape measure, and of course a scissors. You will also need 4 different colors of yarn. I recommend the 24/7 cotton. Now you don't have to go with that. If you're deciding to make a hat more for the winter, then by all means you can use another 4 worsted weight yarn. I like the cotton, the 24/7 cotton, particularly because I find it makes a more formed hat as opposed to a looser, floppier hat. But it's all preference, and you can use whatever you choose. So I'm using 24/7 cotton, and you could choose the colors you like as well. We need 4 colors. I am using the charcoal. I'm using the silver. I'm using the white. And I am using a crew. And of course you can use whatever colors you like. And for this cotton yarn, it is 100% cotton, and these 4 should be plenty. This is a mercerized cotton as well, which is a nice thing. You can wash it. It's safe to wash. This is 3.5 ounce or 100 grams, 186 yards or 170 meters. And this is a machine washable and dryable yarn, making it really nice for a hat. Now, let's start with looking at this hat. And I'm going to take it off the head here. I wanted to show you first the crown of this hat. Now, for an adult size hat, you will go with 6 1/4 inch to 6 3/4 inch. Now, give or take, you can measure your head. Sometimes it's a bit of guesswork, but this size was perfect for my head. You can add or subtract as you see fit. Okay, so to start off my hat, I'm going to start with the silver color for the top of my hat. And I also didn't mention that if you have one of these, a stitch counter, that's always a great idea, because when you're doing your rounds, this really helps to keep a count. So I will be working with this as well. Now, I did reach into this yarn skein, and if I tried to pull out the center, it was going to give me a lot of yarn barf. I didn't want that. So I'm just going to remove the label and unfortunately deal with the yarn flipping around a little bit, but that's okay. I would rather do that than to make a mess of the yarn. So first I'm going to show you how to do this double magic circle. And remember, if you choose not to do that, you can definitely chain 2, make a ring, and make your initial 6 single crochets in that loop. But I do encourage you to try this because it's so secure, and I find it easier to do because I'm actually making the stitches while the yarn is still on my finger. So let me show you how I do that. So I take the yarn and I put the tail over my fingers like so. So it's going in between my pointer finger and the middle finger. Then I wrap it around twice around the middle finger, bring it over the pointer finger, bring it down in between the pinky finger and the ring finger, and I can secure it with my thumb, both strands, to get a really nice hold on my yarn. I take my hook and I reach in and I grab the 3 strands. Then I reach over and take this working yarn, pull it through, and chain 1. Now with the yarn still on my finger, I'm going to go through this yarn and I'm going to make my 6 single crochets, and you'll notice that this loop that's on my finger is going to start to turn around, and it's going to make it really easy for me to make those 6 single crochets. If you can't remember how to make a single crochet, I do have a little tutorial that I'll link you to, but I will give you a good review right here. So what you do is you insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through those 2 loops. And you're going to do that 5 more times. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can see I have such a nice hold on it. It's so nice and neat. I just love it. And at this point, I can remove my finger. Now the difference between this double magic circle and a regular magic circle that you see most of the time is that you've got the 2 strands here. This makes it really secure, and it's not hard to do. You take that tail end, pull, and you'll notice one of those loops start to tighten up. Can you see that? Now I'm not going to tighten it all the way. I'm going to actually grab it so that I can tighten the other strand of yarn. So you'll notice that one pulls tight, and then I take my tail and I pull the second strand, and that's it. And it's so secure. I can pull it a little bit tighter at any time I want. And there I go. I've got the 6 single crochets in the magic ring. So you can let me know in the comments below how you like that. Once I found that one, I was hooked on that. Okay, so for this first part, I'm going to do a continuous round, which means I'm not going to join. The reason for that is the joining is what causes the seam, and I don't want to have the seam. Now that being said, there are parts of this pattern where I will be joining to connect the different parts of the hat, but for this part I will not. So for the first part, I'm going to increase in every stitch. Now to increase, I'm just simply making 2 single crochets in each stitch for a total of 12. So in the first stitch, two single crochets and 3, 4, just reach that out of the way, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12. So this is where I take my stitch marker and place it into the last stitch. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to lose my place as I continue along. I also like to use this stitch marker because it helps me with my count of my rounds. So I know round 1 was the magic circle with my 6 stitches. Round 2 was the increase in every stitch. So with round 3, I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then an increase. And every time I say increase, that means I'm doing 2 single crochets in that stitch. Like so. So I've got single crochet and then an increase. Single crochet and then an increase. And you're doing that a total of 6 times. Single crochet and then an increase. Single crochet, an increase. Single crochet, and in that final stitch where I have my stitch marker, I'm going to take that out, and I've got an increase for a total of 18 stitches. And there you go. So now I'm going to take the stitch marker and again place it into my final stitch. I'll be doing that for every round. So I just completed round 3. For round 3, I've got 6 sets of 3 stitches for a total of 18. It's just that each round is a multiple of 6. Now for round 4, I am going to have 6 multiples of 4, and the way I get those multiples is I have my increase and the remaining number of stitches. So an increase is 2, and because I want 4, it's another 2. I hope that's not confusing. Now the other thing that I'm going to try, if I were to start each round with an increase, I end up getting corners that look something like this. To avoid those corners, I'm going to do my increases at alternative places. So in this round, I'm going to do my increase at the beginning. And on the next round, I'll do the increase at the end of that multiple. So for round 4, I'm going to do my increase first. So 2 single crochets in that very first stitch, and then single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase, and single crochet in the next stitch, and a single crochet in the next stitch. So it's an increase and then 2 single crochets 6 times. Increase and single crochet, single crochet. So just do that until you get to your stitch marker. So in your last stitch on round 4, you should have 1 single crochet and put the stitch marker back into that stitch that you just made. And that's round 4. So I'm going to mark that off. Moving along to round 5, and the math is really simple. It is now 6 multiples of 5 stitches, and the way I get those 5 stitches is an increase and 3 single crochets. Because I started with the increase on the last round, I'm going to finish off with the increase on this round and hope that I can get a nice round shape. So I am doing 3 single crochets and then an increase 6 times. So single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and then an increase 6 times. Show you one more time. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and an increase. So go all the way around. You should have an increase in your final stitch where your stitch marker is. Okay, so now I've finished round 5 and I end up in my last stitch with an increase, and I placed the stitch marker in my final stitch. Now moving along to round 6, I'm going to have 6 multiples of 6, which means I need 4 single crochets and an increase, and this time I'm going to start with my increase in the first stitch and then 4 single crochets. Again, an increase, and 4 single crochets. And I'm going to do that a total of 4 more times, and I should end up with 36 stitches. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of this round. So in the last stitch where my stitch marker is, I should have 1 single crochet because I started off in this round with my increase. I'm going to take out my stitch marker, put it into that last stitch, and I'm ready for round 7. So can you guess what we need to do in round 7? Remember, we need a total of 6 rounds of 7 stitches for a total of 42 stitches. And because we started round 6 with an increase, we are going to start round 7 with 5 single crochets and then do our increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an increase in that 6th stitch. Okay, and keep going. Do that for a total of 6 rounds, and you should end up with 42 stitches by the time you hit your stitch marker. And I'll meet you when you get there. Okay, so back at your stitch marker, your last stitch should be an increase in round 7. Remove that stitch marker and place it in your last stitch. And we're ready for round 8 now with 7 complete. And that's what your little circle should look like. If you notice I'm doing tight stitches, I like to do tight stitches for a hat because I like it to be nice and solid. For round 8, we're going to start off with an increase and do 6 single crochets. So an increase in the first stitch and then 6 single crochets. That makes it a multiple of 8. So that's my first multiple and another increase and another 6 single crochets. So that's 2 sets of 8 so far. 4 more, and I get back around to my stitch marker. I'll meet you when you get there. Okay, so in the last stitch, you should have 1 single crochet remaining for a total of 48 stitches. Remember, 6 times 8. We're doing 6 multiples of every number, so 6 times 8 is 48. Now we're going to end up doing a total of 18 rounds, and each one will increase with your single crochet, so your multiples will change with each round. So in other words, in round 9, you'll be doing 6 multiples of 9. In round 10, 6 multiples of 10. So each of those rounds will be an increase, and the rest in single crochets, all the way up to round 18, where you will have 108 single crochets all the way around. And remember to alternate where your increases are going, so you don't get corners, but you get more of a nice round circle like you see here. It's a little bit less defined in the corners. If you do end up with corners, it really isn't a big deal, because the hat will end up looking just fine. But I like to try and make it a bit rounder by alternating where I put the increase. One round I'll put it at the beginning of a multiple, and at the next round I'll put it at the end. So after completing round 8, going to round 9, now I will do the single crochets at the beginning and the increase at the end of the multiple, so I end up with 2 single crochets in that final stitch. So I'm going to leave you to the rest of this. I will have a written pattern, so if that makes it easier for you, I'll have that available to you at some point. But for now, follow along, and if you're having some difficulty understanding the concept, feel free to go back, watch again. But for now, I will meet you at the end of round 18, where I will have a total of 108 stitches around, and then we can move to the next part of the hat. Okay, so just so you understand what I was saying in my notes, sometimes we discover things as we go along, and I'm happy to share this, because look at the nice round shape I have. And the initial way I thought, the initial way I heard, actually didn't work. I was still getting my corners. But the way I found out does work. So let me show you. I'm on the last round, round 18, which is considered an increase and 16 single crochets. But on those even numbers, the rounds with the even numbers, I am going to bury the increase within those single crochets. So instead of doing the increase at the beginning or end of the multiple, I'm going to bury it in the middle. So with 16, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, like that. And then right at this point, I'm going to do my increase, and then I will do my final 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's my first multiple of 18. So now I'm going to start over again. I am going to do another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to do my increase, so my 2 single crochets in that next stitch, and then I'm going to do my final 8 of that multiple. 6, 7, and 8. So since I started the round over here, I've done 2 multiples of 18. And look how it's rounded. It looks really, really nice. So now I'm going to do another 4 multiples with the increase buried in the center. So I'll do it one more time. I do a count of 8 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'll do my increase and another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you can see that I'm halfway around. The circle is beautiful, and I'm going to do another 3 multiples of 18 to finish off. I will have 108 stitches all the way around, and I'm going to have this beautiful, perfect circle. And so that's the secret. I'm glad I found it. I'm glad I can share it. Maybe you already knew, but this is new to me, and I'm happy. So I will meet you when I get to the stitch marker so we can get to the next part of this hat pattern. Okay, in the next round we're going to add our second color, and in order to do that I actually have to let go of the stitch and put those 2 loops on my hook. So I'm ready to add my new color. I'm going to use the white. I'll just make a little slip knot here. Put that onto my hook. Draw it through like so. Pull everything tight. So that being the gray, and pull my tail. And then I'm going to chain 1 to lock it into place. And then I'm going to make a single crochet in that same stitch. And just tighten everything up a little bit again. And now I'm going to single crochet in every stitch around. And I'll meet you back once you get to the end of the round. So you should have your second color all the way around your circle. Okay, so I'm on my last stitch around, and at this point I am going to join. So I'm going to do a slip stitch to join my end of my second color to the beginning. So I insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. And now I have got the 19th round, and I've got my single color. I'm ready to start my X stitches. Okay, so the X stitches are half double crochet. So I didn't actually cut off my gray yarn, so I can snip off my gray yarn. And I have my loose end to weave in later. So to start my X stitch, I'm going to start with a chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And the X stitches are half double crochet. And to start off, I'm not going to go into the stitch with the chain 3. I'm going to skip the next stitch, and I'm going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch over. So to do a half double crochet, I yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on my hook. That first one might be a little bit tricky. Now I'm going to go back into the stitch that I skipped, and I'm going to do a half double crochet into that stitch to form my X. Now I'm going to skip 2 stitches, and in the 3rd stitch I'm going to do a half double crochet like this. Now I'm going to move backwards, go into the stitch that I missed, and do a half double crochet. Now I'm going to do that all the way along where I skipped 2 stitches. So I'm skipping the stitch that I did the first half double crochet in, skipping the next stitch, and then going into that 3rd stitch. Half double crochet, going into the missed stitch, half double crochet. So basically you're moving forwards and backwards all the way around to create these X's all around your circle. So again, yarn over, and we're going to skip the stitch we worked in, skip the next one, go into that 3rd stitch, to our half double crochet, and go back into the missed stitch and half double crochet. So do that all the way around, and you should have X's all the way around your hat, and I'll meet you at the beginning. Okay, so I've created all my X stitches around my hat. I'm liking the way it's looking, and I just have to join here. If you remember, I skipped a stitch at the beginning, and I have to go back into that stitch. So I'm going to make a half double crochet into that stitch, working right around the one from before, and then I'm going to join to the top. So I went right over that first one I made, and I'm going to join just to the top here like this. And now I'm ready to start my next round. My next round is very simple. I'm just going to chain 1 and do single crochet all around for a total of, it should be another 108 stitches. So go ahead and do that. This is a good time to put your stitch marker back in. It's easy when you change the color, but once you're working with the same color, it's better to have that stitch marker in. So go ahead and do single crochets all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get back to your stitch marker. Okay, so I've reached the end of my round, and it's time to add my 3rd color. So we'll call the first color color A, second color B, and the 3rd color that I'm about to add, I'm going to use my dark gray color. I am going to do that now. So I have to remove my stitch marker, and I'm starting to do my join, but I don't complete the join. I go and I get this gray yarn. I'll do a slip knot. Pull my yarn through like so. And now I'm going to chain 1. Tighten everything up. And I am going to do a single crochet right in that same stitch. And now I'm going to do a single crochet again all the way around to the beginning. You don't have to use a stitch marker this time because the beginning will be obvious because you've used your 2 different colors. So just go ahead and do your single crochet all the way around. Okay, so I'm back around. I'm going to insert my hook into the top of the gray from the beginning. Yarn over. I have 2 loops on my hook, And now I'm going to make a slip stitch in my ecru yarn, bring that through, slip stitch, pull everything tight, and make a single crochet right here to get ready to start my new round. And the next round is going to be identical to the round with color B. So a round of single crochet, a round of the X stitches, and another round of single crochet. If you need to go back, please do that. And I left some timestamps in the description box below. So if you need to do a refresher on that, go ahead and do that. Do that round, and I will meet you when we get to the end of this 3-round repeat with the X stitches. Okay, so coming to the end of the round of this second section of X stitches sandwiched between single crochets, I'm going to switch to my color B again, which is for me the white. So I am going to start a join but not complete it. So I'm going to put my hook into the stitch, the starting stitch at the beginning of the round, yarn over, pull through, and now with 2 loops on my hook, I'm going to take my white yarn and I am going to join it like so, just pulling it through both loops, and again tightening everything up, and another row of single crochets. So chain 1, single crochet into that first stitch, and then single crochets all the way around another time. So again, we're still at 108 stitches. So just keep going all the way around until you get back to your starting stitch. And again, being a color change, if you don't want to put your stitch marker in, that's perfectly fine, because your color change will tell you where you are at the beginning of your round. So keep doing those single crochets all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get back to the beginning. Okay, so I am now finished this round. Back at the beginning, I'm going to take my ecru yarn and cut it, which I haven't done yet. That's something I seem to forget to do, and I leave ends hanging. But what I did do is the loose ends that I had here, I already weaved them in to get them out of the way. If you're not sure how to do that, I will definitely show you how to do that towards the end of the project. So here you can see how the hat is now turning downward. I'll raise it up a little bit. So you can see the hat is starting to take its shape. Looks like sort of like a bowl at this time. And I'm going to show you the original hat so you can get an idea where we are. So we have done, I'll pick this up a little bit. We have done the top, we've done the first X stitch section, the single crochet, the second X stitch section, and then another single crochet. And now we are going to do these shells, and this is probably my favorite part of the whole hat. And you'll see that once we get that part done, we're getting well on our way to completion. So it's a fun project, and it's not a hard project, a lot of repeat. So let's now go to this next section with the shells. Okay, so now going back to my first color, I am going to add that. So again with my slip knot, and when I join, remember, I'm not going to finish. I'm going to join to the top of the first stitch. And then pull through. and pull through again. And now we're going to tighten everything up. And now we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And in that same stitch, you are going to do 2 double crochets. One and 2. So that first chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And now you're going to skip 2 stitches, and in the 3rd stitch do a single crochet. Now you're going to skip 2 stitches, and in the 3rd stitch we're going to make our first complete shell. We're going to double crochet in this stitch 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, I didn't cut my loose end, so I'm going to cut that off. Sorry about that. And continuing from there, I'm going to skip 2 stitches, and in the 3rd stitch, a single crochet. So basically we're alternating with the shell stitch of 5 double crochets and the single crochet, and in between skipping 2 stitches. Okay, so again, skip 2 stitches in the 3rd stitch. We're going to make another shell stitch with 5 double crochets. So this is 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you're going to do this all the way around. Okay, so it's going to be like this all the way around. So skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, and a shell. So continue to do that, and I will meet you at the end of this round. Okay, now I've reached towards the end, and I do notice my numbers are off, so I'm going to have to do a bit of cheating, but that's okay. Nobody will notice. It won't show up. It'll just be a little bit different, and it'll be at the back. So instead of jumping the 2 stitches now and going into the 3rd, I'm going to jump 1 stitch and do my single crochet in the 2nd stitch here. So it's a bit of cheating. You really can't tell. And then I need to put in another shell and another single crochet. So right now I'm going to skip only 1 again and put in another shell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like so. So they're just a little bit closer together, but again, it's so minimal you don't notice. It's okay to cheat sometimes. And then jump the 2 stitches as we did before, put in our single crochet, and now going into the next stitch, which is the beginning stitch, we're going to do our remaining 2 double crochets to complete this shell. Because remember, we did the chain 3 and then the 2 double crochets. We need 2 more double crochets. So here's 1, here's 2, and then we're going to join at the top of that chain 3, like so. And there it is. You don't notice it. And sometimes you need to do that when you're doing different patterns in one project. It may not all work out, but you can just cheat a little bit and it doesn't really hurt anybody. You don't notice it. It looks perfectly fine. So now we've done our first row of shells, and we're going to start working on the second row, and right in the middle of this shell you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and again do the 2 double crochets right in that same stitch. 1 and 2, and then we're going to go into the middle of the next shell. Okay, so we're going to skip the remaining double crochets in the shell. In this shell here, we're going to skip the single crochet. We're going to skip the first 2 double crochets, and we're going to concentrate on the middle of this shell. We're going to make another shell right in the middle of the one below. So into the center we go, doing 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And see how it's looking? So we've got a half shell here, and this is the full one, and that's all we're going to do. We're going to jump from shell to shell. We're going to go into the center of each shell below and make another shell. And that's it. It's as simple as that. 5 double crochets at the top of each shell below. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. See how it's looking? That's it. So go ahead and do that all the way around until you get to the end, and I will remind you how to complete this row. Okay, again at the end of your round, this is the second row of shells, and you'll see that you've completed this shell here, and the next shell is the one that has the half, and we have to go into that same stitch and make 2 double crochets to complete the shell. So here's 1, and here's 2, and again, just like the last round, we are going to slip stitch into the top of that first chain that we did in this round. And there you go. You should have a total of 19 shells in each row if you did the same numbers as I did. And now with the third row, it's the exact same as the second. We start off with a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 double crochets in that first stitch, the same stitch. Okay, and now again go around in every shell. In the middle of each shell below, you are making another shell. So you'll end up with the same number of shells, being 19, just like so. And that's it, the same thing all the way around, and we'll get back to the end again and join just like we did before, exactly the same as the row below. And we'll meet you when you get to the end. Okay, so we've reached the end of our shell section. We just have to finish the shell that we started with. So we're going to go into that same stitch where we started again, do the 2 double crochets like so. And now we have to join, but we're not going to complete the join because we're going to do another color change. So right now I'm going to take my color B, which is my white, and I'm going to bring it through both loops, and do one little chain, tighten everything up. And now again, I'm going to do a single crochet around the entire edge here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet in this first stitch, in the next stitch, and keep going from there. I'm just burying this tail here. So in every stitch of the shell and in between, catching every stitch, just like this. So keep going like that, and I will meet you at the end of the round. We'll be doing another color change at that point as well. Okay, so finish this round, and I just realized something. I was supposed to use the same gray as the top of my hat for the shells, and I ended up using the darker gray. So I'm just going to make up for it by using the lighter gray for the part that was supposed to be the darker gray and reverse them. It's really not a big deal. All the colors match. It's just a matter of placement. And I think this looks fine. So I don't think it's worth frogging it to make it a different gray. So I'll leave it. But anyways, I'm going to change now to the light gray. But if you have done it right, not like me, then you will be changing to the darker gray, which is the third color, or color C. Okay? And again, you could switch it up if there's a way you like the colors to look and what order you put them. It's completely up to you. It's not something that's set in stone. You can do whatever you like. So now I'm going to add this gray. So back to the top of the first stitch, I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I've got 2 loops on my hook here, and now I'm going to join the gray, this light gray this time. So there I picked up the loop, draw through both, tighten both the new color and the color you were using before, so everything's nice and snug. And now I'm going to go back into those X stitches. So I'm not going to do another single crochet. I'm just going to jump in and do those stitches. So I'm chaining 2 here. And now remember what I did. I moved away from the stitch that I chained in, skipped the next stitch, and now I'm going to do a half double crochet in this next stitch here. Like so. Then I'm going to go back and do a half double crochet in the stitch that I missed. So just like you did before, only you're not doing the single crochet border this time, you're going straight into that white, just to give it a bit of a different look. So again, yarn over, and you are going to skip the stitch you worked in first and the next one and go into the next one. So you're skipping 2 stitches, and now we're going to do a half double crochet in that third one and go back into the stitch before and do another half double crochet. Just the way you did before, you're going to do it around same way with those X's. Keep doing that, and I will meet you when you get to the end of this round. Okay, at the end, remember what we do. We go into the stitch before the first chain. So, and join to the top of the first stitch. We're going to complete our join because now we're going to do the single crochet right around. So chain one and do a single crochet in that first stitch, and then a single crochet all the way around. And just to make sure, we'll mark this off with a stitch marker so we can find our beginning stitch. And continue all the way around. And I will meet you once you get to the end. Okay, so I've just finished this round and now I've got to join it, but again it's going to be a partial join because we're in for another color switch, going back to my ecru here, which is color D, the fourth color. So again, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through. I've got 2 loops and this is the point when I'm going to reintroduce another color. So again, here we go, the same way. Pull everything nice and tight. And in this round, simply, we are going to just do a single crochet around the entire hat. So again, chain 1, and I always like to tighten a couple times. Then I'm going to do a single crochet in that same stitch to get it started, and single crochet all the way around. And remember to cut the yarn that you were using before. That's something that I keep forgetting to do until the end, but that's okay. It doesn't matter when you do it. Just want to get it out of the way. And I don't mind tucking my ends in a little bit, but I prefer to weave them in because I just feel like I can go in different directions and get a better hold on those strands. I think if I hide them, they'll eventually find their way out. So that's it. Just do a single crochet around. And again, no need for a stitch marker at this point. I will see you when you get to the end of this round. Okay, so here we are at the end. Again, we're going to do a partial join because we are going to add yet another color. Now, the color for this round is actually color A, but I am going to do the dark gray since I got mixed up and put this dark gray in here. I think I'm going to complement it with another dark gray to go with this dark gray stripe here. But otherwise, the color change, if you're following along with the proper color changes for this hat, you will go with your color A. So for me, I am going to go with my color C. And again, like I said, there is no hard and fast rule on how you should put your colors. Remember, it's your hat and it is designer inspired, but it's your hat. So let's do this. We're going to do our partial join. Okay, so I am going to join partially. So I've got the 2 strands, and then I'm going to get my dark gray, pull it through, tighten everything up, and what you need to do is chain 1, like so, and then do a single crochet into that same stitch, just to set ourselves up and pull everything tight. And then right now we are going to start setting up for our brim. And the way to do that is you need to have some increases in here so that you're fabric starts to flare out. In order to start my brim, I decided I'm going to put an increase in every 6th stitch. So 5 single crochets and then an increase. I am going to count the first one as my first single crochet, and 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the 6th I will put 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and I'm going to do that all the way around. So 1 single crochet and 2, 3, 4 and 5, and in the 6th an increase, 2 single crochets. So do that all the way around. I am going to cut this end now, and with these ends there are a lot of them because you're doing a lot of color changes. So if you are like me and you don't like weaving in ends, I tend not to leave them to the end. I will stop in between rounds periodically and weave them in, so I know that at the end I'm not going to have a big job to do with weaving them in. So that's something that you can definitely do, and I will show you the way I like to weave in my ends towards the end of the tutorial. Definitely, if you want to see that beforehand, I will jump to that. I will give you a key moment link to it down below in the description box so that you can see how I weave in my ends. If you want to go along and do that with me but aren't sure how to do it, then you can also look at that and then weave your ends in as you go along. Okay, so just to do another quick repeat on what we're doing here, we're doing a single crochet 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and in the 6th stitch 2 single crochets for our increase. So go ahead and do that all the way around. You may not have the exact number. Remember what I said about when you have different patterns in one project, sometimes the numbers don't add up, and it is okay to cheat a little bit because nobody's going to know but you. So let's see how many stitches around we get and how many we have left over. So meet me close to the end and we'll see where we go and how we finish off. Okay, so I'm at the end and I was very lucky with mine. I hope you were too. This was my last stitch where I had the increase, and now I'm ready to join. And again, I will be changing colors, so it's a partial join. So go ahead and do that. Insert your hook, drop a loop, pull through 2 strands, and now I'm going with color B, which is my white. Move that aside. Okay, so I'm ready to join my white, same as I've done with the others, and ready to go. Chain 1 and do a single crochet in that same stitch just to set it up. There we go. Now this round is going to be almost the same as the round previous, except instead of doing an increase every 6th stitch all the way around, we're going to alternate between every 6th and every 7th. So let me show you what I mean. This one is considered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochets, and in the 6th an increase, so 1 and 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the 7th an increase. So it's just a little bit different that way. And I think that's to create just a nice gradual flare. So let me take a moment to cut my yarn. Sometimes I want to go a little bit around just to make sure everything's tight before I cut it. So again, another 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then an increase in the 6th, 2 single crochets, and then 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we do an increase in the 7th. So that's the pattern. We've got 5 single crochets and then an increase, and then 6 single crochets and then an increase. Do that all the way around. Come close to the end. If you're not sure how to finish off, then stop and I will meet you when I get there. Okay, so my last increase is here and I have to work over to where I started. And so this is what you need to do. If you don't have the correct number, just work with it, put in some single crochets. If you want to do an increase, as though you have a few increases in between, then you can do that as well. And here you'll see I'm joining, and I'm going to start with another color, and I am going to now use my ecru again. So that is my 4th color, or color D, and I'm going to join that now. Pull everything tight. So lots of joining of colors in this pattern. Chain 1, single crochet in that same spot, and now we are going to do that X stitch pattern again. So what I want you to do is go and take a look in the description box. If you can't remember how to do it, you're going to do a single crochet around, a row of X stitches, and then another single crochet around for that X stitch pattern. And come back to me when you're finished and we will continue from there. I want you to notice that if you look at your hat, there should be a slight flare starting to happen. So you're going to enjoy going forward and seeing it develop. Okay, so go ahead, do that X stitch pattern, and I will see you when you've completed that. Okay, back around now. You're going to notice that little flare developing, and I hope you like it as much as I do. I find this pattern to be so much fun. I hope you're enjoying it as well. And now you'll be happy to know there is no color change. You will just be doing one more round in this color of single crochet without joining, so it's a continuous round. So go ahead and do one more round of single crochet in the same color, and I'll meet you when you're finished. Okay, so back where we started, where the stitch marker is, we need to add a color again. So what I'm going to do, I'll do my last stitch, and then I'm going to join where my stitch marker is, but only part way, of course. So I have 2 loops on my hook. And now I'm going to add color A, the color from the top of the hat, which in my case is that silver color, the lighter gray, and pull that through. And now, very simply, all you need to do is do 4 continuous rounds of single crochet around the rim. So basically we're just extending the rim at this point, and again, to mark off your rounds, put your hook into that last stitch so that you'll always find your place. And at any time, if you haven't weaved in your loose ends, feel free to do so, because it saves you work at the end. Okay, so again, tighten our ends. And just do a slip stitch to secure it in place and do your continuous round of single crochets all the way around 4 times. We are not going to do any joining. Just go around and make sure you place that stitch marker in there so you know where your row begins and ends. Right now there's a color change, so you're okay, but once you get to the end of this round and you're going to do the next 3 rounds, make sure that you've got your stitch marker secured in place so you don't lose where you need to begin. So go ahead and do that. Do your 4 rounds of single crochet, and I will meet you when you are done to let you know what you need to do next. Oh my gosh, we're getting towards the home stretch now, and I don't know about you, but I keep stopping my work to admire my hat. I just love it. So let's go on to the final stretch, and I have come to the end of this 4th round of my single crochet in my color A, and I am going to join this time, and I am going to use my white, which is color B, and this is another fun part that I really like, especially since I know I'm close to finishing this project. Very exciting. Okay, now I'm going to slip stitch here, and I am going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Tighten everything up here, and in that same stitch I'm going to do 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. And I've got my yarn rolling around here. I'm sorry about that. I'll move it to the side. I'm ready to cut this last color. And if you haven't weaved your ends in yet, you can do that at any time. I always like to do it as I go along, as I said, just to get the mess away from me. Okay, so now we are going to do a row of shells. This row is a little bit different than what you saw in the last section of shells. We are going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th, make a shell. So this is just shells, no single crochets, just shells. So we're going to double crochet 5 in this next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3 in that 4th one, another shell of 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll come down just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. So again, skipping 3, going into that 4th with another shell of 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now again, if you need any refreshers on the single crochets, the double crochets, half double crochets, which we've used them all in this project, slip stitches, anything like that, please feel free to go to my playlist of tutorials and my quick tutorials, because I can show you quickly how to do those stitches if you are just starting or you need a refresher. Please do that. They're there to help you, so make use of them at any time you need. So here we are again, continuing, skipping 3 and into the 4th, 5 double crochets. Three, 4, and 5. Continue along like this, and again, if your numbers are off, it's okay, not to worry. We'll work it out at the end. Remember, when we cheat a little bit, nobody notices. That's the beautiful thing. So just keep going around your hat with your shells, and I will meet you at the end. If you're not sure about your numbers at the end, I will help you when you get there. So I'll meet you back soon. Okay, so I'm at the final stretch of my shells here, and what I do and what I recommend you do as well is at the end I start counting my stitches. So here's my shell. I know I'm going to be skipping 3. 1, 2, 3, and then there's a shell. 1, 2, 3, a shell. 1, 2, 3, a shell. And the thing is, my shell is over here, so I need to sneak in an extra stitch somewhere here. So what I would do is I'd go 1, 2, 3, and then where I make a shell, I might do one that will incorporate 2 stitches. So my first one will be a decrease like so, and you won't notice it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So like this here, you'll see that I put 1 together, and then I've got 3 here, and it looks like 5, and then I'll just go 1, 2, 3, put in a shell. So 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now 1, 2, 3, and I'm over here, and I just go in and do 2 double crochets in this stitch here. So 1 and 2, and then I join, oops, I'm a bit tangled in here, and then I join to the top of my starting chain 3 like so, and there we go. And you can't see a thing. You can't see really that I've cheated here. You'd have to look really carefully. Nobody's gonna know. And you could do that over a few shells, and if you find that you have more than 1 extra stitch, you can go back and do that to a couple of different shells. If you need to frog a little bit to adjust, you can do that just to make everything even here. Now I have one more row to do, and that is with my color A, and all it is a single crochet along the entire row, just like I did with my first set of shells. If you remember that 1 single crochet in every stitch, I'll start you off again. So again, I'm joining, so I may have to just let go of this so that I have my 2 loops on my hook like that, and then I join. And this is really exciting because it's the final row before I complete this hat, and that is exciting because the only part left after that is to weave in any loose ends that have not yet been weaved in. So I'm going to just chain 1, single crochet in this stitch here to start it off, and then single crochet into all the other stitches. I'm going to leave that end so I can weave it in later and know that it's nice and secure. So we are at the final stretch now. Last row. I'm really excited. I'm loving this hat. I hope you are liking the colors you've chose for your hat. I would love to see all of your hats. I think this is such a nice pattern. And I hope you enjoy wearing your hats or gifting your hats. So here we go, just doing the single crochet all the way around for a nice finish. And keep going. I will see you when you complete this last row. Okay, here we are, the final stitch. We put that in and then join to the beginning stitch with a slip stitch and pull through. And now you can snip your yarn. And congratulations, you are done. This is really exciting. I just love this hat. And what I'm going to show you now, just in case you're not sure, I do have some loose ends in here which I have to weave in. If you haven't done any yet, you've got quite a task ahead of you, but I hope you agree that it's all so worth it. This hat is amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I have some short ends and some long ends. I'll start with a long end and show you how I like to weave in my ends. So really there's magic in 3, because once you go in 3 separate directions, then you've pretty much locked your yarn into place. So I try to weave in like so. I hope you can see okay. I'll bring the camera down just a little bit so you can see my needle weaving in the ends. You want to make sure that it doesn't show through on the other side. And you want to try to stick with the same color. So weave your yarn in with the same color yarn. Back and forth a few times. For extra measure, you might want to go more than 3 times, and that's okay too. And just try to get it as nicely placed as you can. I'm doing it an extra time here, so more than 3. Like this. And then I cut. So it's as simple as that. Now, sometimes you might have a short end like this, in which case if you thread your needle, you're going to have a difficult time because it's going to be hard to maneuver. So what I do is I weave my needle in first, like so, before I thread the needle. I push it through, and then when the eye of the needle is sticking out, I put the yarn through it, like so, and pull through. And I could do that a couple of times. And when the ends are short, it does make it a little more challenging, but not impossible. And sometimes with the shorter ends, I might take a chance at just twice. And also, I'll fold the yarn so that I can get the entire strand through. Pushing it through with my nail sometimes. Sometimes it's a bit challenging, like right now. And I may want to do it one more time. Back the other way. Wiggle it through. You want to make sure you get every strand of the yarn. Push it through and then cut. And remember the one in the center too. And what I like to do with that one, I like to go around in the circle. It just secures it a little bit more. So I just go around the circle a little bit. And I'll go in a couple of different directions as well. Whoops. Turn that around a little bit. There. One more time. And then off in the other direction, just to secure it into place. And you may be very experienced at weaving in ends. Those of us who crochet, unfortunately, it's one of the realities, especially when you're using multiple colors, which is why people like self-striping yarn. Sure makes life a lot easier, but then harder to control. I'm going to push it through one more time. Sometimes a sharper needle with a pointier end is easier. And there I go, and cut. So go ahead, weave in the rest of your ends, and then I will meet you after that and we can have a look, a final look. Well, here it is, the finished hat. I'm loving it. I actually love this color. Here's the original color of this hat. I love this one too. And I would love to see yours as well. Now I am planning on having a written pattern. I hope that you managed to make this hat. I hope that you enjoyed it, enjoy wearing it as well, or giving it as a gift. And I will see you soon. So have a great day and happy crocheting. Bye for now.